Good morning NVR. It is your main man, Vapin Minuteman, just coming right here at you on the main Vape News Network. We are just bringing to you everything that we can, as much as we can, as fast as we can. But you know what? We're going to give it to you, and we're going to lay it out for you to play it out. So stick around right here after this commercial break. We'll get right into it. So good morning. And good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? It is a great day. We now have everybody going, and we have chat going. It is once more Good Morning NVR. Sorry, I know it was late, guys. I've been dealing with Verizon all morning, and you guys know how that can be. Terrible. The only good part about it was I got my mom and I, for our plan that we're on together, a free $70, basically. It was funny, guys, because here I am sitting there. Anthony's sending me a message like, no show? And then I get Jerry saying, no show? And I'm like, well, we're going to bump it to 9:30 at least. And you see, it's 9:45 when we got it started. So, I was trying to get it as quick as I could. I don't know why I'm peaking so hard, but you know what? So be it. Well, I just don't know. It'll sound good for you, but them it might be peaking. Oh, I had you muted the whole time.
Of course. I'm unmuted, guys. I'm here now, finally. Morning, Steven. Nice to see you, buddy. Well, as most of you guys probably don't know, the Minuteman and I really don't talk throughout the week about what we're going to do on the show or anything like that. He sends me an outline, and then we kind of go over stuff right before the show. And today, it was hilarious, almost serendipitous, that we were both wearing black shirts, which is unusual. We usually don't wear the same thing. And then he's vaping as I'm talking to him, and I'm like, what mod are you vaping on? And he has his black Hellfire Shogun. And I had my copper Hellfire Shogun. This is not a planned thing. This is just something that happened. But, we're not always on the same wavelength about everything. But this morning that was a little creepy almost. But we are wearing black in honor of the New Jersey situation. So, sad state of affairs out there. But we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of news. But you know what? Let's kick it off with probably the most, for lack of a better way to say it, the most asinine thing that I've ever seen happen that shows why T21 was so freaking important. And this segment is called V is for Vaping. Some idiot that was 17 years old and her friend that was 18 years old had a Juul in their house on their nightstand next to their bed in the reach of a 2-year-old child and laughed when that child picked up their vape and vaped it. And did you see what the parents of the girl responded
to? Let's go back just a second. Yes, I did, but I want to scream about that in a minute. But instead of taking the vape away from the 2-year-old, they both decided to take out their phones and video it and then share it on Snapchat.
Yeah, and that was even asinine too. That was stupid of them.
Yeah. So it's not even like, they had the jewel there and the kid picked it up and they grabbed it away from him. Okay. That I could at least, understand and think it was the right thing to do. But in this situation, they actually thought it was hilarious. And the kid is like taking hits and choking on this thing. And yes, and so when we go on to the mom, I mean, you're welcome to tell him, but this just angered me severely.
Then, when that happens, the mom comes back, not of the child, but of the teenager, and says, the whole situation is being blown out of proportion.
She just made a mistake. Okay, that's the biggest issue I have with this situation. This is a perfect example of the shit that we deal with every day. We are allowing parents and moronic children like this to destroy our industry and destroy people's lives. And we're bending to the will of this situation where we shouldn't be. This is totally wrong. This is one of those exact situations. We were last night. I had some friends over. We were playing some euchre, and we were talking about stories from our childhood about stupid stuff that we did when we were kids. And I'm sure you guys all have stories like this of just something dumb that you did with fireworks or fire or whatever it is. At that age, I would not be the person to look to for changing rules and laws and all those kinds of things. And that's exactly what's going on. We are trying to protect these kids from these dangers. They're going to find danger no matter what you do. Okay. And taking this thing away from adults who are literally trying to quit a habit that they know is going to kill them, so that way that these moronic kids don't get a hold of this stuff, it's obvious that that is not going to change anything. Either they're going to the black market or they're going to be able to get this stuff anyway, because T21's been in effect for a while. So if they still have a jewel, that means somebody is providing that to them through the black market.
Yeah.
In this situation, I mean, breaking those laws, I think someone needs to be held accountable. And I guess Child Protective Services were called about this.
Yes.
I think that this girl deserves to, spend a day in jail. Let's have some consequences for something that you're doing. And don't be one of those parents that's like, well, this reminded me of a paved mother, in all honesty. It was like, well, I mean, it was blown out of proportion. She just made a mistake. I'm like, you guys are full of it. Like, this is your mistake, mom. Like, why in the world would you ever let them do that?
Take it over for a couple minutes, Anthony.
Okay.
Hello?
All right, guys. So when it comes to this, this is just one of those things where
Yes.
we just want you guys to be informed about it, because unfortunately, this is a situation that looks bad on us. And the bad part about it is they've actually made it as a vaping issue, which it really isn't. This is just somebody left their kid with a babysitter that was supposed to be responsible, and instead of being responsible, put this child in harm's way. And not only did they do that, but they also videotaped it as it was like a joke. So that's not making a mistake. That is doing something on purpose. And one of those, I can't get behind that.
Okay, so it should
all.
be going out today and be here Tuesday.
As most of you know, New Jersey is basically past their ban. Now, there's been a lot of people talking about this for sure.
That'll be it.
One of the big issues with this, in all honesty, is when you read down through the article, the issue is that they are keeping menthol cigarettes legal. And the whole reason that they are keeping menthol cigarettes legal is just from tax revenue. And they have said that in black and white. Well, if we got rid of menthol cigarettes, we would lose this particular amount of tax revenue, and we can't afford to do that. So we're going to ban the flavors and all of that with vaping because the tax revenue isn't high enough. But with menthol cigarettes, we're going to leave that alone because we need that tax revenue. Can anybody tell me how ridiculous that sounds? We were looking at another article, and I'm sure Rob will probably put some of these links in the chat for you guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now.
Oh my God, the situation. This is it Edelstein or Eppelstein is the author of this other article.
Well, this first one is the story about the New Jersey ban. I knew that you were talking about that, so I went ahead and wanted to put that one up before we did this one. But this other guy, oh my goodness, he understands the hypocrisy.
God, I love him. Love him. Yeah, he has a real grasp on this, and it's just basically putting it in your face. Like, Are you kidding me? Like, these things kill 500,000 people every year. Vaping, has not had any issues like this whatsoever. And yet you guys are spending your time doing this, and blatantly somebody saying like, well, we can't do menthol cigarettes because they bring in too much money for the state. I mean, literally saying that, like quoting that.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. It's like you start getting back into that rage again where you're just like, how in the world are these health officials able to do this with a clear conscience? I mean, how do you sleep at night knowing that you have just, basically given these people a death sentence? I can't fathom it. I just don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way, but you know what, Anthony? We have some people in our own industry that scream hypocrisy too.
Oh, I'm sure.
We have a lot of people, like, we get people all the time that tell people, don't vape where you can't smoke. Don't we hear that all the time?
Yeah.
For the most part?
Yeah.
And, another story we're going to be talking about later, I've already heard people complaining about from Kansas. So, I mean...
I was just reading chat.
Yeah.
Wendy's drinking beer when she's 3. But I bet Grandpa didn't take Polaroids of it and put it in the family album. I mean, maybe. I don't know your family, but I'm guessing that's probably not the case.
Yeah, probably not.
No, and you're right, Stephen. It probably wasn't sold out of a vape shop. It was probably sold out somewhere else.
But
come on, Mark, you're killing me this morning. Governor Cuomo has announced an emergency ban on pleasuring yourself with your left hand. He's not right. Love you, man.
But yeah, I mean, no, I'm not flipping you off. I'm actually scratching my nose, guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, the New Jersey thing is awful. I mean, we know Jay, and it's just a sad state of affairs there. I mean, they know this is just going to close the vape shops with this. And
now they
it got voted through.
They do think this is what we need to really be praying. If you are a God-fearing man or woman, this is what we need to be praying for New Jersey. They think they can get legislation through to exempt vape shops. So that is what we need to be praying for. And what we need to be fighting for is to get that exemption for vape shops to help with
Why do they think they have a leg to stand on with that?
There was talk. Because there was debate when they were doing the actual bill, according to the sources I was seeing, that they think they will be able to get an exemption for vape shops that they couldn't get when they were doing the bill itself. They're hoping during that 90-day period they're able to get that.
Boy, nothing like running it down to the wire.
Yeah. I know, but I'm just
And it's
saying.
not their fault. I mean, they're just getting hit and hit and hit. Like, whoever is in charge of that is just pushing and pushing and pushing to get that stuff through. And I don't know, and you may not either. Do you know what the tally on the vote was? Like, was it
I'm
close,
not definite.
or was
it was in that
know.
one article. I forget.
Okay.
But it was in the one article. But, okay, we're going to go ahead and jump to the next one now that we've talked about New Jersey, because I'm going to tell you guys, it's not going to be a long show. I am tired. I may not look it, but that's because I have my rev today.
It's going to be longer than you think, because you got a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah. But it's not going to be a huge one of us just rambling.
Yeah, that's fine.
South Dakota
ramble?
South Dakota, one of the states we never would have thought of, is actually approaching flavor ban legislation. And I forget if it was South Dakota or Kansas. One of the two was actually a surprise to me because it was a Republican.
Well, Kansas doesn't surprise me at all because they are notorious for banning just about everything.
Kansas isn't even a full flavor ban.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's not. I'd have to look again, but
CBD is illegal in Kansas.
Really?
Yeah, you can't cross the state line with anything in that. Kansas and Nevada both.
Yeah,
So that's why
it's
Kansas doesn't
South
surprise me.
Dakota that's
Yeah.
that's going after the ban on flavors. So, that's the next one, guys. It's just being introduced, but that is one that we need to be watching, and I'll be watching it very closely.
And these legislators who are in positions of power, they're seeing, the media. They're seeing what is going on at the White House. They're getting information from people who are probably pretty uneducated about the actual vaping. They're just they're taking secondhand information, and all that, and everything looks bad, so they jump onto this. And
Yeah.
then and in some situations, after they do, and there's a big upheaval, then they actually start doing some research about it, and then they start backing off. They think they know what's going on until they actually start getting some real information from vapors. And then it's like, oh, well, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. Maybe I should look into this a little bit more. You know, our commander in chief is a perfect example of that situation.
Yeah. And we're going to be getting into something with him later.
I agree. I understand.
Because I love that article.
Yeah.
Now, another one, I'm going to be flat out blunt with you guys. I've never been, and this is one place where the hypocrisy of our industry comes into play. Kansas actually is looking at an indoor vaping ban, which, again, we all tell everybody let me rephrase that. Not everybody does this, but the majority of the community says don't vape where you can't smoke. And to be against an indoor vaping ban, to include it in a Clean Air Act, in my personal opinion, it's hypocrisy. What's your thoughts on that?
I really disagree with any kind of indoor vaping ban, personally, just because I feel like they're based out of ignorance. It's not that you're what this is. It's an inconvenience thing. That's like saying I don't like the smell of your cologne, so I'm going to ban it so that I don't have to smell it anymore. Or you can't drink coffee here because I don't like the smell of coffee. It's not doing you any physical harm. It's just more of an inconvenience thing. And when we start banning things because of people's opinions or convenience or whatever, I use this term all the time, but that's a fucking slippery slope, guys. I mean, you can just start banning things for no reason, or that particular person doesn't like it. And there's been situations like this in the White House where a president doesn't like broccoli, so it's banned from the White House. Okay, it's not like against the law, but it's one of those crazy. But that's how crazy this kind of stuff seems, especially when like I do, the research about the parts per million and all of the things that go along with vaping. Is there's no danger here. This is just a convenience thing. And when you
Yeah,
say indoor vaping ban, are we talking public places or are we talking private residence?
public places. It's
Okay.
adding it to the Clean Indoor Air Act is what it is.
And the reason why secondhand smoke and smoking bans go into effect is because there really is a danger from secondhand smoke. I mean, that's
Yeah.
been proven over and over and over again, but no one has brought up any scientific evidence to say that there's any issue with secondhand vaping. And to ban something before that's actually available, I feel like is un-American. I
Well,
mean, that's my
I will
two
say
cents.
this is why I can understand it. Some people are PG sensitive,
Sure.
so I can understand it.
So why don't we get rid of peanuts?
I
Because some
agree.
people have allergies. We can't make you can't nerf the world. Okay. You can't be all things to all people. If you have an issue with it, that's your personal thing.
Yeah.
You deal with that. Okay. Don't make me change my life because you don't, react well to that. All right. I mean, it was funny recently. I was cooking food for a get together, and one of the guys has a lot of food situations.
Yeah.
And I just flat up told him, don't eat my food. I can't make this food the way that I make it with your, stipulations. And, like I was making mashed potatoes and he can't have milk and dairy and all this. So I made him a baked potato. It's like, here's yours. This is what it is for everybody else. You can't always make everybody happy, and
Yeah.
that's a real situation. There are people that are, kids that are allergic to all kinds of things. Why not ban dogs? Because there are lots of kids that are allergic to, pet dander and stuff like that. You can't nerf the world, and just because it's the loudest voice doesn't mean it's the right voice.
Right. But, you know, politics
You're
is a
too
give and
easy.
take.
You're
Politics
too easy.
No, politics is a give and take though. We have
This isn't.
to give a little bit.
Well, I get that. I'll give a little bit. I will open the door and allow them to leave when I'm vaping. I will hold the door for it. Because I worked at a place one time that because we made caps for bottles, we couldn't have any peanuts in the facility.
Yeah.
So I can't have a Reese cup in the vending machine because we were a nut-free place.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just going overboard. I just do. It's like you have that allergy. Clean your shit and make sure that you don't have any peanuts in there. But having to make me change my life for you, it just seems ridiculous. I'm not asking people to change their life for me. I'm not asking the airlines to put in bigger seats. All planes now have to have seats big enough to fit me. Okay,
Yes.
that's not a realistic thing. Just because it's for me, it doesn't mean it's for everybody else. And I don't like that. It's just a personal thing that I don't like.
Now, Anthony, just so you know, I'm not taking everything at the exact order it is.
Oh, that's fine.
I've got an order in my brain, so
I'm willing to compromise.
Now, we do have, while, we're going to talk about all the federal all at one time, but we're going to talk a little bit more about a couple other little things that I thought very interesting, and one of them I'm attempting to dig a little deeper on. I've made contact with the person that's involved, and I'm trying to dig a little deeper. So we'll probably get a little bit more to this later.
Okay.
But that's the second one. The first one is, what do you think about that article I found about more schools approaching teenage vaping the right way?
I've been on board with this for a while. I did a story, God, it's got to be at least a year ago, about that FlySense device.
Yeah.
I think this is enforcement, not banning. And that's exactly what we've been looking for.
What's going on, guys, is in Indiana, I believe it was.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Indiana. The schools are actually using their safety. They're using specific funding they have, not for tobacco, it's for safety, to put up vape detectors at $1,000 a pop, which school systems can do. They can increase their security much better to prevent vaping in the school. And these detectors, what they're doing is, certain administrators and certain teachers, if it detects any vaping, they get notified on their cell phones or on their computers
specific location
of the exact location that it went off, and they can check the cameras outside of wherever that is, or they can go to it and they can actually enforce it against those youth. I love this idea. And I did post the article for you guys. If you want to go back and, like normal, I do like posting the actual article. I don't want you just being a blind sheep like some of the other YouTubers are, especially one. I don't want you being a blind sheep. I want you actually researching. So I want to be able to give you the tools to do that. So that's why I provide all these articles for you with everything we talk about.
Now, if this would become a nationwide campaign to do this, number one, the cost of those things would come way down, because if they were building that many, they would be able to do it at a faster rate and all of that and be able to bring that down. This would be an ultimate thing for someone who is in a high office to want to institute. Yes. This is enforcement. This is trying to combat this so-called epidemic. This is something that would actually work. And what I love about these devices is it's not like an alarm goes off or anything like that. It tells a person of authority exactly where to go and what's actually going on. Now, when I read the article, there was one little piece in there that I'm like, it said it could actually measure THC levels. I would need to see that. Like, I understand it could measure parts per million and be able to differentiate between, regular air and that. But to
Yeah.
actually measure THC levels, I think that's pushing, and not that that's important, because it's, any vape or any smoke that's in the bathrooms, you want to be able to, handle right away. Kids probably won't like it just because it's just another kind of big brother thing for them.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you guys, if this is, I'm so much about fixing a problem and not banning a problem that I couldn't be happier about the situation.
Oh, same
I would
here.
encourage all the schools, as many of them as can, at least apply to try and get these things, because like I said, I think this should be one of those national things.
I mean, in all honesty, since the states control their education systems for the most part, a governor would be amazing to step in and say, one of the things I want to do for our state is to go ahead and install vape detectors in all of our schools. On my first day, that is one of the things I will put my director of the Department of Education in charge of, looking into how much it would cost. That right there.
No,
I would support.
I'd vote for that guy
or
girl.
That governor.
I would. Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it definitely would, because they're trying to fix a problem.
Steven's like, I wonder if it'll detect farts.
Well, it depends on how many parts per million are in your farts, I guess.
It depends on how many poo particles are in there. But now I'm going to tell you, some of you may and some of you may not like this next article. But I also don't want to just give you all the bright side of things. I want you to know what we're up against. And this is the one that I'm doing a little more research on.
Okay.
A researcher at Marshall University, just down the road from me, about an hour.
Okay.
Is doing research, and they believe that flavors alone may cause changes to the brain. Now, all they can really detect is the neurological firing of the brain.
Quit reading chat. Finish your statement.
Sorry. All you can really do is detect the neurological firings of the brain. So, I took care of you, Steve. But let's be honest. Flavors probably do have a neurological effect by firing certain things. So, I mean, they probably do have a small effect, but I've contacted her because I want to know the ins and outs of how they are producing the vapor. Because we have in the past had issues with, like back in the 2015, 2016, when they found the formaldehyde, we had the issue of them overfiring the coils. I want to, as a member of this community, take a step that a lot of times we don't take and actually approach, and being a West Virginian myself, it might have a little more impact because I am from this state. I'm only an hour away. That by approaching her the right way, if there's anything that really is not kosher, maybe they will listen. And I approached it as a media side, that I am vape media. So, and we do consider this network vape media. So, I'm approaching it through the press side, but I don't remember if I put the article up for this. If you want to read it, you can. But that's just something that you might want to consider watching and reading. They haven't produced the study yet, though. That's the whole thing. They're still
and I would agree with Wendy on here. It's attacking the pleasure center of the brain, and I would say that's probably true, especially when dealing with mice. because that's what they're dealing with. And so, mice aren't going to have any kind of, willpower. I mean, if it tastes good to them, they're going to want to keep using it. So
Yeah.
I think it's a little twisted how this is working exactly. One of the things they said in there was they were using like zero nicotine flavored liquid, and then they showed packs of Juuls. Now, I didn't know Juul offered a zero nicotine
I didn't either.
cartridge. Yeah, but and they don't. Is the point of that. So I don't know exactly how that's all working, but yeah, a sweet tasting something to a mouse is probably going to get them to want to continue to have it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they hope to achieve with this. I think what they really hoped to achieve was she hoped to achieve that $50,000 grant that she got to spend, a couple of years employed. But
Yeah.
I mean,
but
personal opinion and all that.
At least we're trying to reach out to her. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you can get some real, information on what her goals are with this study, what's the end result? Like, what is she trying to prove or disprove? Because if you're saying that the flavoring is the addictive part, well, no shit. I mean, that's why they put flavors in things. I mean, do you think kids would just eat cereal with no flavor? Do you think people would drink, soft drinks with no flavor? I mean,
exactly.
Realistically, how many people drink black coffee?
Exactly. Now, guys, we are heading to federal, and I am going to kill. I'm jumping to the throat cut at the very beginning of this. Anthony knows exactly which one I'm going for. During our shows, during NVR Live, I have seen so many of you say that you really thought Bernie Sanders and some of the socialistic healthcare would actually help our cause. I remember seeing this all the time. Well, some, including two of the biggest on socialized healthcare, have actually made statements because of the Iowa caucuses. They have came out and made statements on their positions when it comes to vaping. Yes, we are actually starting to see the topic getting mentioned on a presidential level. Now, mind you, they were at an event and a guy from a vape shop brought it up, but they still responded. Elizabeth Warren, she was the only one that even was partially positive of the three that responded. But she says a rule that is based on science. She believes in science. I believe that decisions we should be making about our health should not be decisions that are influenced by an industry. That right there is a negative right there.
When I read that statement, I thought, well, she must be talking about the cigarette industry.
Yeah.
And as a joke, obviously, but I'm like, if you read that statement and you have in your mind that it's for cigarettes, yeah, I think that's exactly right, Elizabeth Warren.
And then she said, I want a rule that is based in the best interest of the health of the people of the United States. So that is her response, which I consider very negative. And mind you, all three of these people, guess what? They're three of the top five candidates. Yeah. And we already know where one of the candidates is going to stand because he was the vice president when the Tobacco Control Act and the FDA final rule came out. So we already know where he stands on this.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg, I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
His response was, the way this was marketed and sold to the country was that it could be used for harm reduction to get people off smoking combustible cigarettes, as they call it, into something that might be less dangerous, and that doesn't make them safe in their own right. Which we never said they were safe. We said they were safer. And I believe the burden has to be on these companies to demonstrate that they are not causing harm, rather than regulators to demonstrate that they are. Which, that's middle of the road. Now, Bernie. Big Bernie that is Medicaid for all.
You're right.
His direct response was, not a great fan of vaping. it's something that we've got to study, and he's not overly impressed. So Bernie is a big no.
Right.
So out of the top 5, we've heard from 4. Or, well, we know 4.
All right. So let's talk about this for just a second. There are a lot of people out there that are unhappy with Trump. All right. And there's always going to be that situation. But let's go back to the election. All right. So we'd have Clinton and Trump. All right.
Yes.
If Clinton would have been elected, what would the state of vaping be right now?
We'd be dead.
We would absolutely be dead. So, I don't really fall on party lines either way, but in this particular situation, I don't see a better alternative at this point. It's just like you've got to take what the cards you're dealt and play them the best that you can. And in this situation, Trump has actually allowed us to continue as an industry
for
and
2
I think
years.
that if Democrats get control of that I think they will shut this down as soon as they possibly can, and it will be a focal point for them. And that's what scares me about this thing coming up is the lack of education. And if people really do feel like that they want to vote Democrat because they don't like Trump, the ramifications of that could be disastrous. And I just want everybody to kind of get, don't think that, this was the worst choice, because in all honesty, especially at least for me and my business, this was probably, unfortunately, the best choice.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. There's actually a vape shop owner that is running for office.
Well, good luck to him.
Her.
Oh, her. Sorry.
I'm assuming it's a her. Shell Hamill, I'm not sure. It
Like
says donate
Michelle?
to her. She is a vape shop owner, so I'm assuming it's a her.
Well, that's cool.
But now, and here's the other thing. What I see, we talked about this a little bit last week, but I'm going to bring it up again. I'm still seeing people say, well, if Trump don't eradicate the PMTA process, I am not voting for him. Well, here's the thing. He's not the one that put it at May. Guess who did it? The courts.
Yeah.
His administration is under court order to have it May. If it were up to his administration, it was 2021 or 2022. So he wasn't even touching it when he got the court order.
I've heard other people talk about this too, and they feel like that, when it comes to the FDA and these other government agencies, they feel like Trump is overseeing all of this, so the ultimate responsibility is his.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that logical kind of step down, but I mean, realistically, if you think about it, like, how much stuff does he have on his plate? Like, vaping isn't the only issue going on right now. I mean, there's impeachment and Iran and all this other crazy stuff going on. So I didn't know if you were going to get into that, but the Trump regrets touching on vaping. That was really
our
funny
next
to me.
one.
Yeah, I saw that article, and I actually posted it on Instagram yesterday as well. It's a closed door meeting, and he was being a little jovial about it, but he was like, man, I never should. And we were joking before the show. I'm like, yeah, you fucking stepped in this hornet's nest is exactly what you did. Like, you had no idea. You're like, okay, we'll just stomp this thing out. And it's like, holy shit, like, all this stuff's coming at me. I mean, the amount of backlash that he got just on Twitter about this, to the point where they thought we were robots, because there were so many of us, screaming and yelling, like, what the hell are you doing? And, it's one of those situations like with, McConnell, or not McConnell, Mitt Romney, total just lack of education.
Yeah.
The more that Trump dug into this, the more he was like, well, we're not gonna ban this stuff. It's going to cause a huge black market problem. It's going to, send all these people back to smoking. This is a bad idea, guys. And, going to the cartridge-based, pre-filled ban on that is that, I guess, that compromise that he's making to say, okay, if we really feel like that this is what's going to curb youth vaping, we'll go that route.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but I think that that's probably more of what a compromise looked like. And his health secretary, I don't think has ever been happy with him, because he just keeps putting the blame back on him. Like, why the hell are you doing this? You're just causing us, huge problems. And like in the state of Ohio, Trump got what 8 electoral votes here last time out of what do we have, like 28 or something crazy like that. So he's going to be here a bunch trying to make sure that he can, win this state because, there's a lot of vapors in the state of Ohio. So, this is a big issue for him. And he was just here, last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I assume he'll be back in town. I mean, this was in Toledo. You had to basically spend the night on the sidewalk to get into that thing.
Really?
Like they said, if you weren't in line by noon, you weren't getting in. Like there was that many people that showed up for that. So,
well, Mark, we're going to be talking about that here in a couple minutes. But yeah, the exact quote that Trump supposedly said was, "I never should have done that effing vaping thing."
Because it's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
No matter which way he sides on that, he's alienating a ton of voters.
Yeah. But the antis were never going to vote for him in the first place. They're feminist radicals. I hate to say it, but from New York. I mean, those women are just crazy. I wish, in all honesty, I love you and Bruce to death, but I wish we could take California, take it out of America, and take north of Pennsylvania out of America. Because that would make a much better America.
You can't do that kind of stuff. Man, just lopping off stuff like, nah, nobody in this area is good. Just gone.
We'll give New York and everything above it back to Canada. Canada can have that. We'll take the decent states. We'll sacrifice and keep New Jersey. We'll keep Pennsylvania, but get rid of everybody else. Anybody above PA, just Canada.
There are several of us that would probably do that to California if we had the opportunity to.
Like California was already in that.
Yeah.
I know, Jerry, but we have to sacrifice something to get rid of New York City.
What part of upstate New York? I used to live in Poughkeepsie. I'm just curious. All right. Well, let's talk about the CDC thing.
Okay, guys. The CDC finally backed down from their recommendation to refrain from vaping. Now, in my personal opinion, it's a good move, but I really do believe it's too little too late. I mean, it takes less than a month to figure out E. coli in lettuce, but it takes almost 6 months to figure out THC vaping. And I mean, it was so hilarious. You're going to get a laugh out of this because for anybody that follows my personal page on Facebook, I had a huge talk last night with somebody because I don't know if you've seen the meme, but there's a meme out with Simon Cowell putting his hands up about that. About the CDC finally admitting about THC vaping.
Yeah.
Well, this person knows I vape CBD. And she's like, well, you're still vaping marijuana. I'm like, yes, but there is a difference between THC and CBD. And she's like, no, it's not. It's watered down THC. I'm like, no, it's not. It is a completely different plant.
Oh my God. Is that the same lady that said for bigger clouds we have to put ammonia in our tanks?
No.
That's about as ignorant as that. It's watered down THC. Oh my God. That's like saying Tylenol is watered down heroin.
Or, well, she said it was watered down marijuana, but
whatever.
And
That's
she was like,
ridiculous.
She was like, what's the first letter stand for in CBD? And I'm like, well, technically it stands for cannabidiol, which is a formulatory name for it. And she's like, No, it stands for cannabis. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's cannabidiol. And I'm like, well, what does the
For the
THC
rest of
stand
us,
for?
it's cannabinol, but for him, it's however
Cannabidiol,
he
yeah.
says that. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what does THC stand for then? Yeah, see, Jerry saw it. And he saw
Yeah.
my discussion with her because I was going off. I mean, it was like a 45 comment thing. Well, Mark, it's kind of hard for me to block that person because it's my roommate's mother.
Now he's throwing names out there, putting somebody on the spot.
So it's kind of hard for me to block the person.
But getting back to the CDC thing, okay, I'm glad they did what they did. The real issue is that the media coverage about it, they keep saying the deaths and lung illnesses associated with vaping. They won't make that distinction, and that is where the real issue lies. So, if the CDC was like, if you say that this is for vaping, that is slander and you're going to be sued for it or something like that. I mean, I know they can't do that, but you understand my point. They need to be more specific because all they're doing is continually to kill our industry by making those claims because people watch the news, they just put all vaping into one thing and that's it. I mean, it's like putting everything you eat into one category. Well, eating has caused all these problems, so you probably should stop eating. That's not how this works. This was specific things, black market, vitamin E acetate oil, all of these issues are what caused these problems. And I just wish the media would be more specific about it for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're wrong, but number two, you might save somebody's life because you're telling them specifically what to avoid instead of just telling them to avoid everything. Because, I know when you tell kids not to do something, they probably just want to do it that much more when you say that. So if you're giving them specifics about these types of products will absolutely have the possibility of killing you, the other ones are not in this category. That's my biggest problem with this. And like one of the things that one of those links that you sent me has, the lady on there saying, well, vaping has done this. And I'm like, fuck you, lady. That's not true at all. And you're just scaring people for no reason. So I'm glad about the announcement from the CDC, but you're right. It's
too little, too late.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, this week was full of news.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you would have been trying to do your show with this week?
Yeah. I can.
I mean, just that's the thing I like about us, just about you just doing Saturday. Because then you're not regurgitating everything that I've said from this, or we're not on Saturday regurgitating every bit of news you've said during the week.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice to be able to put that stuff out like as it was happening, really quick. But the whole purpose of my show was to get information there about, advocacy and about bans and about taxes and all that. And what happened was everybody got on the bandwagon and started doing it. So it wasn't necessary for me to do that. There were people out there with a lot more subscribers. They were getting the information out there. So I felt like I got to that point. But a lot of people out there, you just don't know that I've been doing this same thing for, a year and a half. My first show was about flavor bans. We've been doing I Vape, I Vote for a year, So, I mean,
we've been doing
I
Vape, I Vote for a while.
We've
been doing I Vape, I Vote for a while. I mean, I can remember it from back in 2015. But the thing was, and I'm going to give some people credit here that Jen would probably kill me. But,
Yeah, I didn't see her in the chat today, so you're safe.
They've been doing, Tristan specifically has been doing a lot of work, he and Matt, when it comes to actual advocacy. They've been going out there, traveling to the different places. And they brought up a good point. People need to get off their ass and actually come out and help with advocacy. Because what if, let's throw it out there. What if you, me, and Jen all killed over tomorrow and died?
At least to be quiet.
What if 3/4 of our main advocates killed over in the next year and died? Who would
Yeah.
be there to carry the torch? Not that many people, because not many, that's one of the things about this channel. We've always been out there saying, get out there and fight, get out there and fight. But advocacy being the main focus, you don't get the views because people don't want to get involved.
No, you're absolutely right. And maybe advocacy is one of those scary words like enforcement. All we really want people to do for advocacy is educate others. I don't care what decision you make. I just want you to make an educated decision. And I think that's where the problem lies, is that you're not being educated. If you know the truth and you know what is actually going on in this industry, then you make better decisions about it. But as we know, 80% of the public is uninformed and uneducated about the truth about these products. And, and going back to that, New Jersey thing about, well, we're not going to ban menthol cigarettes because there's too much tax money in it. That's the kind of craziness that drives us nuts, because we know that menthol vapes aren't going to have anywhere near the issues that menthol cigarettes are. And yet they're making that decision as it's saying it's a logical decision to make, and couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
I understand taxes have to happen. So if that's what has to happen to keep, how many menthol smokers do you think would go to menthol vapes if menthol cigarettes were unavailable?
True.
Probably quite a few, and with all the disposables and things that are out on the market now, it's very cost effective for somebody to just, give it a shot and see if it's for them.
Mm-hmm. But you know what, guys? It is 10:36. We actually got everything in an hour. Can you believe that?
We did. Well, I mean, because we had a good outline here, and there was a lot of news stories on here, but they were very quick ones because it's just kind of to the point thing. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that Trump regrets thing, you really should read that article, because it's a good laugh.
Oh yeah.
But the other one is the gentleman there that I don't know how you put that link in there for the guy that the one man that understands.
I'll put it in again.
Please, everybody that watches this show, if you're going to read anything at all, read that article. He will make you feel better about this situation, because he just lays it out. He's not apologetic about it. He's just telling you exactly the hypocrisy that really exists here. And, I love that kind of stuff, because that's how I feel. Just be blunt. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's still the truth. And to see that situation go the way it did, it's just nice to see somebody else going, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, that was a fantastic article.
And see, the good part about chat now, one reason why I do also like putting the links in, people that are watching this on a computer or on a phone, they still are able to watch chat. So
yeah,
not even just on the screen. There's another chat section that they can still pull up of live chat. So they can pull up the chat and actually get the links from us. So that's the good side of YouTube now. They allow for that. And again, we want to thank everybody for hopping on Facebook as well. I didn't get really a chance to watch it on Facebook, so I don't know if we had anybody watching on Facebook. But if anybody is watching this on Facebook, I again want to thank you for coming today. But we are going to head out of here, guys, because I am tired. I need my sleepy time. I need my sleepy time tea. I'm being serious. I need my sleepy time tea.
What are you, a 70-year-old woman? Come on, man.
No, it helps me calm myself down to go to bed.
Yeah.
To where I don't have to do CBD every time to go to bed.
Well, I do know of some CBD tea that you might actually enjoy.
Now, this does the job for me because it's got peppermint, chamomile.
Melatonin in it?
I don't think melatonin's in it, but the chamomile and the chamomile and the peppermint does the same to your body as melatonin. I think it actually releases melatonin is what it does.
Oh, gotcha.
So it actually helps you fall asleep.
Yeah, I have the same issue when I drink too many beers. It just puts me right to sleep.
But
Guys, we love you all. Really enjoy having you on here. If you guys have ideas for shows or things you want us to go through, let him know. I mean, I'm sure he would be able to set up that information. And if you have questions, please feel free to IM me. I'm sorry, or hit me up on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to answer questions. Or if you see something, Mark is not shy about sending me news information. So don't be shy either. But I did think that situation with Trump was worthy of an Instagram.
And anytime you get something, let me know. Send it to me in an email, and I'll throw it. If it goes with everything else we're talking about, I'll throw it in. Yeah,
oh,
Steven.
believe me, I'll just share your email with Mark. You'll get all the stuff you can possibly handle that way.
Okay, that works. But and if you hear of anything happening in Ohio, I'll even keep an eye on some of my Facebook connections that are from Ohio. If I hear from them, I'll let you know, because like you didn't know they were doing something during the Trump rally.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah. I don't know how I missed that, but no, I didn't know that. Ohio's looking to ban snow, so we're hoping that goes through. Because I don't like snow, so I think we should ban it.
It ain't ever happening, everybody. Yeah. It ain't ever happening.
It snowed pretty good here today. We got a few inches on the ground. So anyway, all right, guys, we love you.
But we're heading out of here, guys. Again, we want to thank you so much, and we will see you guys hopefully tomorrow night. It all depends on Jen. We're waiting on Jen to do Mandalorian. So trust me, I'm dying to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
We might be to the second half of the season before we get to talk about the first.
I hope not.
Same here. I mean, just a lot of, and they're actually starting to put out plushes too. I don't know if you heard.
Great.
Finally, Baby Yoda plushes.
Great. Yeah. And if I was a 16-year-old girl, I'd have one.
I want one already, and I'm
sure
not a 16-year-old girl.
That stuff's not for me. They come out with a Leia. I'm good on that.
But we're heading out of here, guys. We will see you later. If you like what you've seen here, there's much more to come. Just click one of the 2 boxes up here in the corner. And you know what? If you've liked it, make sure to subscribe. Just click the little button right there. Talk to you later, guys.